Good morning, YouTube. It is about 9 a.m. This is the very first thing that I'm doing this morning, so bear with me. Anyway, welcome to this very first van life Q&A. I've never done a Q&A on this channel before, so I'm super excited to dive into some of the things that you guys have been wondering about. I asked my Instagram a few days ago what their pressing van life questions were, and these are the things that I got. So I'm super excited to dive into this. Did want to cover a couple of little announcements before I dive into your questions this week. First of all, if you guys are inspired at all by kind of the information that I'm going to give you guys today, I am currently working on a little guide to van life, which will be available as an ebook in the shop on my website, which is always in the description below. It's hallieswanderingsoul.com. But yeah, so there is going to be an ebook guide to van life, kind of like van life for dummies, just like a beginner's guide to kind of living on the road, available on the shop, which is just going to cover kind of just the basics, anything that you guys might be wondering about in terms of just like how to get started or what you need to know before you get started with living on the road. Yes, that's going to be available on the shop very soon. If you want updates, make sure that you follow me on Instagram, because that's kind of the first place that everything gets released. So if you need or want to know about that ebook as soon as it drops, make sure you're following me on Instagram, which is going to be right here. Okay, the other announcement, which I'm so excited to tell you guys about, is that I am planning on no later than June 19th, which is the 1-year anniversary of me hitting the road last year. I am planning on launching a Patreon. So that'll be definitely online sometime in June, no later than June 19th. The idea is I'm going to kind of become your road trip guru. Like, I'm going to be here to answer all of your road trip planning questions, because a lot of you guys, I know, are planning domestic travel within the US during 2020, because international travel is not exactly an option. Because of that, and of course I could help with people who are planning road trips kind of in other countries too, because it is what I would consider myself an expert in terms of travel. It's what I've been doing for over a year. I've been planning long-term road trips for more than 4 years now, so I'd really like to be able to help you guys do exactly that. So if you guys have any specific questions about routes, if you have questions about what it's like to start van life, which I guess I'm going to get into today, but if you wanted to kind of do your first long-term domestic travel in a van, I'm here to answer those questions. So there are going to be 3 tiers. I'm going to get into it in another video once I kind of have it all set up, but I did just want to get you guys super pumped about that, because I'm really excited to be able to talk to you guys more one-on-one and answer those super pressing questions about life on the road, or just any road trip question, really. I mean, if you guys are just planning like a 1-week road trip up the California coast, like, I'm there to help you figure out exactly where you might want to stop, or where you might be interested in stopping, or helping you find accommodations or campgrounds or national parks that you didn't even know existed, like Pinnacles National Park in California. A lot of people have no idea it exists. Anyway, I'm super excited about this, but that's it for announcements. Let's dive into your questions. Okay, so I have all of your questions typed out in a note right here. It's of course not gonna show you the note, I promise it's here. But first question is, how's your name pronounced? Not exactly a van life question, but I felt like it was probably relevant to address here. It's pronounced Hallie, like Halle Berry or Halley's Comet, whatever floats your boat. A lot of people say Haley, a lot of people say Hale, Hal. I'll probably turn around if you yield any of those things, because I'm so used to it. But if you want to really be my friend, it's Hallie. Okay, so now diving into the actual van life related questions. The first one is, how do you keep your stuff, like your laptop, safe when you're out exploring? So this wasn't actually something that I really considered until a few months ago, when a lot of van lifers, especially in Central and South America, actually no, it wasn't even that, it was somebody got broken into in Spain. Anyway, until a lot of van lifers started to get broken into when they were just like at the beach or at the laundromat or at the store, it kind of brought it to my attention that having a van that looks like a camper might bring a little bit more attention to the fact that you might have camera gear in there, because a lot of van lifers are YouTubers. So I've kind of come up with a system for hiding my stuff. I will never, ever, ever leave anything of value out in the open because that just is an invitation to anybody who is trying to grab your stuff. But if I'm just gonna be like a few minutes, I'm just gonna leave my stuff kind of hidden in its normal place. Like, I do have a specific place for all of my tech stuff, editing equipment, camera equipment, etc. But if I'm gonna be on a hike for a few hours, or if I'm leaving the van for like a couple of days, if Jared and I take a day trip somewhere, I do have specific hiding places for my laptop, camera, anything of value that kind of would disguise it as something else. Like, I just stick it in a storage space for something else. I'm obviously not going to tell you where I hide my stuff because, you know, obvious reasons. But yeah, I guess the trick is just don't leave your stuff out in the open. Don't make it obvious that you have expensive equipment, and if you're really, really worried about it, just take it with you. Okay, so the next question is, do you use an app or something to see places to stay or camp? I actually got multiple questions about finding places to park overnight or camp, so this is definitely something that is going to be super useful to you, so take notes. It's going to be on the quiz later. Anyway, yes, we do use an app. It's called iOverlander. It's kind of like the van life Bible. Honestly, every single van lifer I've ever met has used the iOverlander app. Some van lifers use another app called Free Campsites, which honestly we don't love. I honestly find iOverlander to be a lot more comprehensive. I'll insert like a little picture of what the app looks like right here, but basically it shows you all of the campsites in your area or in the area that you're looking to go to next, and they're all like color coded. So like the dark green ones are developed campgrounds, which you usually have to pay for. The light green ones are dispersed camping, which is what we prefer, but you can also find things like RV dump stations, veterinarians, places to fill up water. It's a great resource if you're starting out on the road. Okay, so I got so many questions about money. I was thinking about making a whole separate vlog about this, so I guess if you have deeper questions about expenses on the road, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and maybe I'll make a whole separate Q&A just about van life expenses. But I'm going to answer these 3 questions, which are kind of the most common ones that I got when I asked you guys about what questions you guys have about van life. So the first one is, what do your monthly expenses look like? So monthly expenses actually really vary based on how fast I'm moving. If I'm driving every single day to try to get to a specific destination by a certain time, my monthly expenses are going to be way, way, way more than if I stay in a place for a week and kind of am not paying for gas every day. Gas is definitely the most expensive thing that you will be paying for on the road. I say gas because I'm American, just so you guys know. But so I mean, if I'm driving every single day, I'm gonna be filling up at least once a day. I try not to drive more than 2 or 3 hours a day in the van because it's just like so large. It's so hard to drive for really long periods of time, but I have done a few long hauls in it just to try to make it to a destination, but those were really expensive days. So if you're trying to save money on the road, plan on staying in places for a week. Plan on slower travel. It'll allow you to really get to know the place that you're traveling in, but it'll also allow you to save a little bit of money because you won't be spending money on gas. You'll be spending money more on food, activities. If you want to pay for activities, we kind of don't do that. We tend to just do things that are free or covered by our national parks pass. But yeah, monthly expenses really, really, really depend on how fast you're moving. I do try to keep it to under $1,000 a month, or about $1,000 a month, just because that allows me to save a lot of the money that I'm making on the road versus spending exactly what I'm making. So that brings me to the next question, which is, what is your source of income? I am currently a freelance copywriter or a freelance writer. I do a little bit of both. Mostly copywriting though, which means I'm writing pretty much everything that has to do with marketing for certain companies. I'm writing their blog posts, their Instagram, their email campaigns, anything that they need written, I'm their girl. That being said, you don't need to be a freelance copywriter to do van life. People freelance themselves in other skills. You can be a freelance coder, photographer, video editor, any skill that you have that you can market online, you can freelance. So that's just how I decided to make my income, because that was what I majored in school. I was a writing major. So it kind of made sense for me to fall into that. But there are tons of ways that you can make money on the road remotely. Another way is that I do have my own platform. Obviously, you're watching it right now. YouTube currently doesn't make me any money, so if you want me to stay on the road longer, share my channel with your friends. But I also do have my blog, which I have affiliate links on, and I'm going to be starting to add more products to my shop there. I'm going to be starting the Patreon soon, like I mentioned, and I also do Instagram branded content. So there are tons of ways that you can make money on the road. It's just a matter of figuring out the thing that works the best for you. And if you're like super high energy and like to keep yourself busy like me, you can do literally all of it. So I have another question about gas here. How much do you spend on fuel and auto repairs? Honestly, a full tank of gas for me in California, which is my home state, costs about $80. Gas prices are going down because of the pandemic right now, so we're seeing prices in Northern California be like $2.60 per gallon, which is really, really cheap in California. So I'm hoping that gas is going to continue to be really affordable, which is going to cut down my monthly expenses a ton. In terms of auto repairs, knock on wood, I haven't had a ton of issues, but there have been a few months, probably my first 3 months that I had the van, I ended up spending a lot on like one big thing that needed to be fixed. Like my headlights were not working in December, so that was a few $100s to fix. What else was it? Oh, my solar was having some issues, so I had to take it to a car electrician because I didn't set up my solar. So if you're planning on van life, just do it yourself, because it could end up just costing you way more. But that was also another couple $100 to kind of get repaired. I'm really glad that I was able to get those things repaired because I do work remotely. But as with anything, prepare for things to go wrong. So I have one more money question. Do you have a spreadsheet for your finances? How do you manage the expense of everything? Honestly, I don't. I don't really plan ahead. It's kind of just that I know how much things cost and I know how much I should be spending in a month. The thing is that you need to kind of organize your finances based on how much you know you're going to be making. If you're doing the other way that you can do van life, I decided to work online because I plan on doing this for a really long time. But some people save up a bunch of money so that they can just travel for a year and not work, and that's another great way to do this. But if you do that, you might want to consider making a spreadsheet or making a full budget, just because it's going to help you figure out exactly how much you can spend within your kind of allotted budget for your whole trip, so that you don't run out of money and have to cut your trip short. Okay, so this is not a money question. So sorry if that bored you, if you're not really interested in finances on the road. But if you are, and you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I'll make a whole separate vlog just about that. Okay, so this question is, what is your biggest challenge when living in a van? Honestly, I don't find it that challenging, but I've also been living on the road for almost a year now, so I'm kind of just used to the constant, like, strange discomfort of not having more than 60 square feet to spread out in my house. But the truth is, I thought that like finding a bathroom would be the worst thing, but honestly, like, I didn't get any questions about poop, you guys. Like, I'm probably the first van lifer to not get any questions about poop. Anyway, pooping. is a challenge if you can't dig a hole. We've been isolating on public land, which means we're just like tucked in the woods, which means you can use the bathroom outside, which is fun, but sometimes there's rocks and you can't dig a hole. So that's a challenge of van life. Showering is also a thing. We can't currently use gym showers because, you know, public spaces. So finding a place to hang the solar shower is sometimes an issue if we're not in a forest, but it's not like that big of an issue. We just have to duck a little bit. My van's pretty tall. Solar is another issue. It's been pretty gloomy. My fridge takes kind of a lot of voltage to run. I need to be getting 12 volts from the sun for the fridge to run for more than a couple minutes. So if there's a storm coming through, which it's gonna be raining for the next probably week, running the solar is kind of an issue because I don't have a backup battery. So that's something that I should probably think about investing more in the future. But hopefully with summer on its way and kind of the spring gloom being left in the dust, that's going to be less of an issue in the coming months. Okay, so kind of a similar question, but what do you miss most about living in an actual house? Honestly, hot showers. Not that our solar shower doesn't get hot, but just the idea of being able to shower every night, that's a luxury. Appreciate that while you have it. But honestly, like, I don't miss that much about like having an actual house or apartment. I did live in an apartment for 2-3 years. But yeah, I mean, I honestly find that living in the van and having the sense of adventure and freedom is worth more than having a hot shower every night. What is your favorite part of your tiny home is the next question, which is honestly really hard to answer. I love so much about my little house. Honestly, probably my little kitchen window, which I'll show you guys in a second. I think it's the cutest thing ever to have my mugs like hanging in the... I'll just show you. So this is my favorite spot in the van. I just like love that I don't know, it feels like a little house. Like I have the sink and I have the mugs and I don't know, I can just see the world outside. I'm parked in such a beautiful spot right now. The next question is, what is the first thing you'll change after quarantine? This is kind of a hard question, but I mean, honestly, we're probably just gonna change things back to the way that we used to do things, which was spending a little bit more time in towns. We've been really trying to avoid going into civilization unless we genuinely need something from a store. But I mean, I don't really think we're gonna be changing too much of how we travel, except for going back to visiting national parks and being able to explore small towns and just not being anxious anymore. I'm not gonna lie, like I've gotten some pretty rude messages on Instagram about the fact that I'm even living in my van right now. So changing things after quarantine, probably not gonna change all that much, except for maybe avoiding like super high traffic areas. Like if we end up in Yellowstone this summer, I'm not gonna go to Old Faithful. I've done it, I've seen it, I don't need to see it again, and it's gonna be freaking crowded. So I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where I'm going to be exposed to a ton of people. I'm gonna probably spend my time in a place that's super crowded, like Yellowstone, exploring less crowded areas like the Lamar Valley or Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. But also using this as an opportunity to kind of see places that aren't as trafficked, like spending more time in the Tetons versus Yellowstone. Or if we do end up going to Alaska, maybe spending more time in Jasper rather than Banff. On the way up. But I'll keep you guys updated on that. We're kind of in a gray area of whether that's going to be possible. And that leads me to my last question for this Q&A, which was actually sent in by my really good friend Alex, so thank you for this. But he asks, how are you feeling? Really? It's been a whirlwind Since we've been on the road during quarantine, I've gotten quite a few messages, like I said earlier, telling me to go home to a house that I don't have, telling me to stop traveling, which we're not really. We're just sticking to national forests and trying to not go insane in 60 square feet. We're not like, you know, going to tourist destinations. We're maybe stopping and seeing a view on our drives, but we're not like spending time at the beach or in national parks. Honestly, I was doing kind of okay when there was still like 100% hope that Alaska would be happening. We found out last week that it's fairly unlikely that the Canadian border will be opening by the time that we need it to, which is the end of June, because it would probably take us, going the pace that we want to, it would probably take us a month to get through Canada up to Alaska, and then we want at least a month in Alaska to actually explore the national parks and really get to know this place that is so, so different from home. Alaska was going to be my 50th state. It's largely the reason that I bought Sequoia, the van, because I didn't want to do the Alaska drive in just the Kia Soul. Felt like I needed something a little bit more than that. Today, I did hear from a Canadian flight attendant that their borders might be opening in time for us to go, which would be just so amazing. So I'm doing all right, but it's super hard to have a bunch of really consistently good days in a row when everything is so up in the air, especially because I'm a person who loves to have something solid to look forward to. So yeah, I hope that even answers the question, because I'm not even like 100% sure on how I'm feeling, but I guess hopeful, and I guess just a little bit anxious, but I think a lot of you guys are probably feeling the same way. Anyway, yeah, so that's it for this week's Q&A. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope it answers some of your questions about van life. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave them down below. I love talking to you guys, so I'm 100% happy to do another one of these maybe next month. Or you could just look forward to my Patreon launch, which is going to involve probably a monthly Q&A about road tripping and van life and travel in general. If you guys have any questions about planning, I'm super excited to be able to help you guys plan some trips in the future, and get you guys on the road and get you guys traveling in a safe and fulfilling way, because I know so many of you are feeling so trapped in your houses right now, and I'm so excited for this summer when things do start opening up so that you guys can finally head out and hit the road and see some of the beautiful things that this country has to offer, because it is such a fulfilling place to travel. It's so different than any other country. There's so much nature and history to see. So look forward to that and start thinking about if you have any questions for me, or just generally where you want to go. What do you want to see? Because there's a lot to see. And I'm so excited to share it all with you guys. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about my channel. If you want to see me on the road for longer, help me grow this platform, because I really love doing this and I really want to continue creating content for you guys. So anyway, I'm gonna go. I really hope you guys have an amazing day. Stay safe. I'll see you next week.